Ladies and gentlemen, today is February 3rd, 2015, and this is the KNKL Show, episode 208. I'm your host, Keenan Lafferty, and today is Tutorial Tuesday. We are going to be resuming our Let's Paint of the lovely AHRI right here. I'm going to be showing you a quick little time-lapse to catch you up to what we did on Monday to get to this point. But before we get into the actual time-lapse, we need to take a stroll down a very special place called the Lovely Lane. Lovely Lane. Oh, very nice. Thank you to everyone who has been submitting your awesome artwork to the Facebook as usual. If you'd like to go and see all of these submissions for yourself, the tiny URL is right at the bottom there. It's also in the YouTube description if you're watching on the archive. And come join us and submit your artwork and get it featured on the show. Hey, how about that? Oh, and we do also have a little thing called cookies. We have cookies on the site, so come get some. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with all that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get into the tutorial, or the Let's Paint. I keep saying that. And you know what really ticks me off? What really ticks me off is that I recorded more of the time lapse, but it decided to just die. So we're left with a... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, the good time lapse went through. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so, or is this the good time lapse? I think it is. Maybe it's not. Okay, well, at any rate, yeah, it's for 1:14 it says, but I don't think that's gonna go for 1:14. Okay, well, anyway, this is what we were doing yesterday morning on the morning stream. We were basically laying in our mask. We had finished our color comp, as you guys can see on the previous episodes. If you go back to part 3. You can see how we came to this point. We laid out our color comp so we knew exactly what our picture was going to look like once we moved it over into Photoshop. And we're having a great time with this, moving speedily along. And yeah, everything just seems to be going quite well. And today what I'm going to be showing you guys is a couple techniques that I like to do. Now that we've set up our piece, I'm going to show you how to start coloring your lines. Because, as we all know, Riot Splash Arts, they don't show the lines. It's not a comic book type of style. All the lines magically disappear, and everything becomes hyper-realistic. I'm going to show you how to begin refining and sort of taking away your lines, but in a way that you might find a little bit interesting, something that you may have never tried before or even thought of before. And it's a style, it's a technique that I came across during my wanderings of the desert, my wanderings of the wilderness, all alone. I figured it out. And that is the line sculpting technique. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. And yeah, we're just going to get right into it. Oh my gosh, we got tons of time. Tons of time to explain things. This is going to be awesome. Okay, so the first thing that I want to explain to you guys is, first off, you guys are obviously familiar with our color comp. So this is something that we did last week, and we basically just laid in colors, came up with a good idea for what we wanted our final colors to be. And actually I had a member of the audience help me out with a really cool technique of doing a soft light overlay, which kind of unified all the colors closer to like this blue that we're sticking around. We're hanging around like this bluish background, the blue ball, and because we all know that AHRI has blue balls, and it's very important to illustrate that. And so we're hovering right around this blue, and now we transferred all of the colors over, and now we're going to start getting ready to soften the lines and begin overpainting, which is super duper fun. And you can tell my sarcasm in it. There's a reason why I don't do splashes as much anymore, because overpainting and texturizing stuff takes a long time. And it takes quite a bit of patience. But I can teach you a really cool way to get there. And that is with line coloring. So what you'll notice here, what I want you to look at first is, let me go ahead and shrink the desktop back down so you can actually see my layers. So over here you got the lines, and then you've got a layer over here that is actually a clipping mask. And this is basically the line colors. Now I'm going to show you what happens when I take these off. I want you to notice basically what happens with the skin and the clothing. I want you to see how all of the lines become softer once you start introducing color into them, and you start basically coloring them. So this is one of the reasons why I like to set up my pieces in the way that I do, because A, you've already got a lot of the values already done, like in the, let me show you what it looks like when you actually take off the lines. Oh my gosh. Actually, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. We should go ahead and submit that right over to Riot as it is. I think we have a winner. But you can see how much definition the lines actually add to the piece. Because without the lines, it just looks kind of like a weird blobby, creepy mess. And then as soon as you put the lines back on, oh man, that was close. Okay, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. But we're okay. We're okay. Ari, you're still sexy. You're still sexy, so we're good. But let me show you guys how this works. Okay, so originally we have obviously just our lines. And what I do is I have this special little button right here. I've told you about this many, many a time. This magical little button that looks like a little checkerboard. A little checkerboard. You want to click that on, and then a little lock button is going to come to the side of your layer there. And what this is going to do is, there's two ways to do this, right? But I'm going to show you this way just because this is usually the way that I do it. You're going to lock the pixels. You're going to lock those pixels, and basically this makes it so that way you can only paint the lines. Isn't that interesting? Very, very interesting. So basically anywhere that you've laid down those values, you can now paint those whatever color you wish. And that comes in really handy because now we can start softening the lines, because when you have just black, creating your values, oftentimes it tends to look a little dead, kind of muddy. But as soon as you start adding in those colors, it starts to soften the image, makes it look more natural. So this is the second way to do it, and that is to create a new layer over top. Basically, look what happens. Also, we get friggin' AHRI creepypasta if we take off this clipping mask. But isn't it interesting how basically what this is I have laid down the colors over top, and then I have clipped them back. I have clipped them back onto the lines. And basically that makes it so that way those colors only affect the lines. And then you can easily like erase them. That's why I like doing it this way, because you can add and erase and it just goes back to the regular black line. So yeah, but that's actually really creepy. I didn't look at that. That's scary. Bloody AHRI. Kinky. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and move into, I'm going to show you a little bit of the process over here because I got a little bit more lines to color. And then we're going to start coloring in the face. We're going to start painting the face with our overpaint. And that is going to be one of the final touches that we're going to be doing on this painting. And it's going to be taking us toward the end. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so line colors. I'm just going to go ahead and grab this. Let's see. The line's still existing there. Okay, good. All right, so you're going to watch what I do here. And it's going to be very, very subtle, so I want you to pay attention. So look at how I'm adding warmth to the colors, or to the lines of the skin. This is probably one of the most important places to do it. You can get away with it in other areas having black lines, but on the skin, you just can't. I always go for like a dark red. Always just put a hint of red in there because it'll always make everything look really alive and natural. And we like that. We like that. And sometimes what I even do is I'll just straight up eyedrop the edge color, and I'll just paint the line that color. And see how now you can't distinguish where the line is and where the color begins? That's another really cool way for you to begin eliminating your lines. And sometimes it'll spill over into your other, you can see it's affecting the hair a little bit. You can just kind of paint that back in. Because we're still fairly loose here. Fairly loose. And then say you want the lines on the inside of the sleeve to be a little bit less prominent. So we can go ahead and again, paint those out. Now see, we have soft lines on the inside of the sleeve, hard lines on the outside. Now let's see here. There is one thing that I want to do, because if we've got the moon, basically I see a moonlight is our main rim light coming from behind her, and that is going to be hitting the top of her sleeve right here. But notice this, check it out. I'm actually painting the line. I'm not painting on top of it. See, if I were to just go crazy, see how it's only painting the lines and the values that I laid down before? So it's kind of an interesting thing that you got to get used to. It's kind of like you remember where the lines are, and you kind of use that to your advantage to sort of get a general idea of overpainting in the beginning. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but this is the style and technique that I've been using a lot, and I really, really like it. And I would encourage you guys to try it out for yourselves, See if it helps you out. See if it works. I have a feeling it will. I have a feeling it will. So yeah, and also we got to consider if there's that moonlight hitting the sleeve, we're going to have some subsurface happening within the sleeve. So let's go ahead and lighten this up. Lighten this up a bit. Except not there. And also we're going to be getting some lighting happening from the ball here. So let's make sure we get some more of that in there. So I really want this white cloth to look very vibrant. Yeah, like that. And there's going to be some lighting there. A little bit catching there. A little bit catching there. I'm thinking about the, have you guys ever seen the outtakes of Rush Hour? I think it was Rush Hour 1, where Jackie Chan is trying to say his father caught a bullet, but he said, my father caught a bullet. Caught a bullet. So, that's what I was saying. Catch some light there. All right. Yeah, that's looking good. All right, now there also is going to be a little bit of blue happening on the edges of the red there too. So let's go ahead and do that. Now you might ask me, what color does blue light affect on red silk? Well, let's think about that for a moment. The easiest way, okay, this is the coolest way for you to figure out how to mix your colors from now on. Basically, whatever your material is and whatever the light is, those two are going to mix together, right? So red and blue come together to make purple. And then all you have to do is desaturate it. So you're going to push it a little bit more towards like a gray. Okay, so it's not going to be like purple over here. It's not going to make that. But it is going to desaturate and go towards this, sort of like a purplish like that. And you're going to get a color like that. You're going to get a color like that. See? Look at that. That's the color blue light affects red silk. And then you can even, like because it's shiny, we'll even have a little bit of a specular going through there. Just very slight specular going through there. And then you can add in a little bit more red kind of towards the edges there. See, but just kind of play around with it. But in general, that's the way I like to think about mixing my colors now. It's like whatever the color is, whatever the material plus the light together, and then desaturate it. And then you have what we call a winner. Not, you know, a winner. Okay, so anyway, moving on. Okay, do I want more? See, once you put too much blue in it, it starts to look a little weird. You want to make sure not to make it too blue. Not too blue. Okay, that looks good. And now that we've done that, I kind of want to add a little bit of that purple into this area. Just a little bit into that area. Oh. I'm going to darken it down a little bit, though. More so like that. Cool. All right. So this is the point where you might be saying, hey, that looks really awesome, but how are we going to overpaint this? When are we going to get to the overpainting? And patience, we're getting to that right now. First, I'm going to scratch my eye because it is itchy. Oh, yeah. All right, that was good. And now we can move into the overpainting. All right, so I know why you guys all showed up. You guys want me to see, you want to see me paint this face. You want to see me paint the most important part of this piece. And that is the face. So let's go ahead and get to that. I'm going to go ahead and bust out my chalk brush. Get chalk brushes on both ends here. And let's make sure we are saving our work because we don't want to lose it. We've worked long and hard on this. And to lose it now would be a travesty. So also I'm going to make sure let's group all of our layers here. So that way she is now on one. She is joined as one layer. Good. And we can basically make AHRI disappear. How did we do that? Well, we just grouped our layers. All right, now you can tell I'm procrastinating. let's move on to the overpainting. Now we're going to make a layer and call it OP. And now the fun part begins, because we have basically done all of the hard work. And now all you have to do is basically start grabbing your colors and painting the way you want to see it, basically. So now that you're in the overpainting stage, whatever you say goes. You are the boss now. So if I want to put a bright highlight on the edge of her nose there, and for some reason I wanted to like draw it all the way up here too, see, like basically whatever you say goes now. So you want to be very careful. Understand the power you have here and use it for good. With great layer compositions comes great responsibility. So let's make sure that we're doing that. So I'm going to zoom in and we're going to start working on this very closely now. So I'm going to basically show you what I like to do. It's actually very, very easy. And basically all I'm doing here is just, I'm refining edges. I'm refining and cleaning up edges. So see how it's like, there's not much definition here. Like it's kind of, I don't know. It's like, it's not really refined. What I'll do is I'll go in and I'll kind of clean up this edge. See what I'm doing there? Cleaning up edges. Making sure I'm getting rid of muddy colors too. Like it's kind of going gray here. Looks kind of nasty. So let's kind of clean that up. Clean that up just a tad. And I'm also going to add a little bit more reflected light on the side of this nose. Okay. Yeah, you like that, don't ya? Yeah. And yeah. So there's not much exactly to talk about here other than, I mean, just watch closely because basically, oh, and I need to talk to you about my other technique with blending. Okay, so you'll notice that I have my brush, and every now and then you'll notice the eyedropper keeps popping up. And what I'm doing is I have my left hand on the Alt button, because that automatically makes you select the eyedropper tool when you have your brush. So it's a really easy way for you to grab and start mixing colors. So I'll drop a little bit in there, and I'll just kind of blend it in. So you get something going like that. And we like that. We like that. And the other really cool thing too is that I'm always referring back to the original. Piece before I started doing my overpainting, because sometimes you'll like paint the face in, and it'll look a little bit different than it originally was. And that's when it comes in handy to kind of get rid of your OP layer and examine what the face was before you started kind of fiddling around with it. So, but at any rate, we're just going to go ahead and paint this sucker in. We're going to paint it in. We're going to do it, and we're going to love it. I'm going to do it, you're going to love it. All right. So I'm basically just focusing in on creating a few things here. One of the most important things you want to remember is that your characters do indeed have eyelids. So you want to make sure that you're giving them a little bit of detail there. That's one of the things, one of the most common things that I see people forgetting is that characters must have eyelids. I like to do it like that. Basically, from studying faces a lot, you'll start to notice that there's little pockets and areas where faces will start to pick up light. And one of them is in this area right here, where I call it like the eye connection area, the eye hole where it connects with the nose. So you gotta make sure you show a little bit of light getting caught in there, as well as on the upper eyelids too, right? You're gonna have ambient light being caught there. And then you can go ahead and kind of blend that in like that. Very good, very good. All right. But we're just taking it easy. We're just relaxing. This is really where you're supposed to relax. And I know I talk a lot about using the force of the artist in the beginning. This is another area where you're supposed to use the force of the artist. You're supposed to relax and just allow yourself to paint the face that you really want to see. And don't be afraid to sort of make mistakes, because like I said, like you're painting a face that no one's ever seen before, and you know you're bound to make some little mistakes, or you'll deviate from the original face and it'll look weird, or like the way that you shade it will look a little off. But that's okay, because we're professionals and we rectify our mistakes Always. Always. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to round the edge. Here's another really cool thing. Another way to make your lines disappear is if you squint your eyes, you notice how that line automatically disappears. And the reason why is because the values are changing from right here on the face to the hair. So basically, just take this color and sort of like just paint in the edge and then blend it. If you just blend that edge, see how now your lines have disappeared? Or they've just gotten really thin, but basically they're gone now. They're gone, yet they still exist. They exist, but they're done in the proper way. They now have been done in the proper way, and you can celebrate. Very good, very good. All right, so also what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little bit more, a couple areas where some more light will be picked up, and that's kind of around the muzzle area. You guys have heard me talk about that a few times. I love my muzzle areas. And with girls' faces, I've noticed that it's good to just keep them, when in doubt, I always keep my girls' faces very, very subtle. I almost want to say they're kind of like flat, but they're not, you know what I mean? It's like you just want to, I don't know, a little bit goes a long way. That's what I'll say. That's what I will say. Is a little bit goes a very, very long way. And already I can tell that one of the most important pieces in this is going to be her nose. I can tell because she has a very, very specific nose that I like, and I want to make sure that we don't lose that. And I think what I need to do here is instead of adding light, I need to add a little more shadow. A bit more shadow. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, like that. Good. Okay. Now let's go ahead and add a little bit of a specular here, see if that looks good. If it looks weird, then we'll get rid of it. Yeah, I don't like that. Needs to be more subtle. Very subtle. I know what we can do. We need to do this. There we go. And when in doubt, it's always good to have reference. Oftentimes I'll use reference when I'm painting the faces, just because, not even because it's the same exact face or like even the same lighting, but just to remind you where the planes of the face are. Sometimes I'll even pull up old pictures that I've done or old studies that I've done that'll help me remember exactly where the planes of the faces meet and stuff like that. So it's really handy. But in general, I just kind of wing it at the beginning. It's really just something that you'll have to get with practice, just learning where little pieces of light will get picked up. Because that's really what's going to start setting your art apart, is when you start picking up those subtleties. And that's just something you gotta learn on your own. You just gotta figure that out. You gotta figure it out. Alright, but you know what I am a fan of? I'm a big fan of this area being very sharp right here. I want this area to be very sharp. The nose. Yeah! But you can see, now let's click off the OP layer. You can see the small changes that we're making. Very, very small changes. And I always like to cycle between the two and just see like what's improving and what's not. Like one thing I can see is that we've added a little bit more definition on that nostril, and I don't really like that. So I'm just, again, you just erase it. Look at that. Now we've softened the nose. Brilliant. So you can always go back to where you were. And I'm always just referencing back to, or I'm referring back to the older versions, or basically just clicking back and comparing, asking myself, is this really the right thing to do? Is this really the right thing to do? All right, so I'm gonna just continue finishing up this face. And in the meantime, I would like to invite you guys to do a little something called Launch the Question Catapults! All right, ladies and gentlemen, please cast your questions over the castle walls, as has been instructed in the video, and I will answer your questions. And in the meantime, I'm just going to keep painting this face. Keep painting. I just need some time alone. I need some time alone with my AHRI. I just need some time alone. Okay, so anyway. Adam Forever is asking an interesting question. Do I know anybody in the industry that's colorblind? That is a very interesting question. I don't know if I do. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that I've met that is, but off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. Could not tell you. But if you are, I'd say that it's not really too big of a hindrance. Like, artists always spot each other on their works, and it really wouldn't be hard for, I mean, the worst case scenario is that you could just have one of your teammates color corrected, or you could have them do a paint over or whatever, but it's usually not that big of a deal, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. But yeah. Ooh, I like that. That makes her nose look really nice. Very nice. Let's see here. Ooh, yeah, I want to have a little bit more light being caught in here. Let's see if that looks good. Does that look good? Nah, it looks a little weird. Let's erase it because we're awesome. And we know how to do that now. I'm gonna clean up the edge of this chin really quick too. All right, let's see. Can I do a realistic eye tutorial? I actually have done one. I have done an eye tutorial, but I did it specifically for my buddies at Riot. But I was thinking about publishing it over to YouTube as well. So maybe that's something that I will end up doing. I did a short tutorial for Marino, who you guys might know as Iron Stylist. And I will consider bringing that over to share with my non-Riot art buddies. Let's see. Gamer Menace is asking, how do you do... Oh, when doing a comic, how do you do your spaces? How do I create my panels, I'm guessing is what you're saying? That is something I use the marquee tool like this. So say you wanted to create a panel, right, like this. You just use your marquee tool, which is up in this top left area here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to right click it and then go to stroke. And then from there you can choose, hey, okay, I want to stroke with 10 pixels. And then boom, see? Now you have a panel. And it's basically that simple. That's the way I make all my panels and spaces in my comics. But it's interesting that you do say that, because I am going to be doing an in-depth class. A little bit of a secret, but I'm working on an in-depth class where I'll be able to walk you through creating a comic. And I'll be showing you guys all of my secrets. And yeah, I'll basically be doing more one-on-one time. For those of you who have been asking for more one-on-one time, you're definitely going to be getting it with this upcoming class project that I have. So I'm super excited to show that to you guys. But that is a little bit getting ahead of myself here. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But in the meantime, just be ready for that. All right. Ooh, loving it. Loving it. Nice, nice boobies. Very nice boobies. All right, that's going to be fun. That's going to be very fun. But yeah, you see how it's coming together? Look at that. Really just adding small, tiny little things to it. And that's basically what we're going to do to the whole picture. And then when you zoom out and see it in game, you know, it's going to look good. Probably end up killing a few of those highlights. I don't know. They're looking a little bit, adding a little bit too much noise to the face. I don't know how I feel about it. But again, we'll get to it later. I'll deal with it more later. All right, next questions. Chenango is asking, this has to do with the method of working from shadow to light. When painting classically, artists like to point out that there are some vivid shadow colors, often from reflected light. How do you make sure our shadow colors stay luminous when we're painting the shadows first? Okay, that's a good question, Chenango. And basically this comes down to something that one of my good buddies, my old colleagues, taught me, and that is reflected light. Basically, the way that you make your shadows look good is you consider your reflected light at all times. So that can be things such as like, okay, well in this one we have like an ambient light coming from below, but really I think what's important is okay, so here's a good example. And obviously we're going to refine this as we go forward, but see how as the red transitions over to darkness, it becomes purple. And that's because of the blue light hitting it and kind of desaturating it. That's really what you want to look out for, is just consider your secondary light sources. Consider where the light may be reflecting, like specifically off the ground is one of the most important places to consider. Or just anything where the light is hitting a surface and then reflecting back underneath. That's basically how you come up with reflected light. Make your shadows look awesome and your pieces look freaking sweet. All right. Last question. Sorry, I can't answer everybody's. Last question is going to be coming in from Mischievous. And she is asking, hi, Keenan. You always say that envision what you want to draw and how you want it to look. But most of the time I draw, I can't seem to get out what I want. So I get frustrated and stop. Do you ever get those moments, and how do you deal with it? Okay, so this is something, yeah, this is a great question, Mischievous. And I remember when I was growing up and I was like, I really want to be able to just put my vision onto the paper, like exactly how I thought of it, right? But I would always struggle with like body language and like anatomy. It's like, how can I draw this guy, let alone in a dynamic pose, when I don't know anatomy? And you got to understand that just a lot of your time learning to get your vision onto the page is going to be learning different processes. Like basically what we've gone through here. If I were to say, okay, we're going to paint an AHRI splash, and then I immediately tried to draw this, it wouldn't have come out as nice. But also I probably would have gotten frustrated a lot and it would have been annoying. But what I did to help combat that was we started out, remember, with all those tiny little thumbnails, working with simple shapes instead of worrying about making it look perfect. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up really quick. Because I think it is very important that we look at that. Very important. So yeah, here we go. So this is what we started with, okay? And this is how I want you to begin laying out your pictures from now on. Like if you have a vision, it really comes down to simplifying it, laying out your composition, and using simple shapes to draw in your anatomy. Don't worry so much about perfect proportions or getting all the muscles laid in or any of that crap. Just look, this was literally what we started with. It was just a simple little silhouette. And I said, hey, I really like the balance of those shapes and the flow of everything. And then that allows you to carry your vision over to the final piece. And then obviously you're going to have to learn a bunch of stuff about like lighting and color and all those other fundamentals. But again, that just comes with time. When it comes to actually just getting your original vision, start simple and keep it simple. All right? So you can go from that to this. And that's about it. That's about all I have for you. Alrighty, guys. So with that, we're going to end today's show. Thank you guys for joining me live on Twitch. As usual, people on YouTube, thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. My name is Keenan Lafferty. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care.